Thank you all for having me here. Thank you for inviting and introducing me. And I like to start with an invocation, and in this case, just a very little poem about the heart called "The Heart Is Not." The New York Public Library has people write these tiny, tiny poems to put in people's pockets as they leave the library. And so I wrote this for that. The heart is not a pocket, a thing that can be turned inside out by anybody's hand. Not a place for pebbles or loose change, not to carry old receipts. It does not tear at the seam. It does not have a seam. It cannot be torn. So that's my little pocket poem about the heart. And I wanted also, of course, to read poems that I've had in the Alaska Quarterly Review, which is actually one of the first places that published my poems. So thank you to Ron for that. But yeah, so from my first book, I have some poems here that were in AQR early on. And one is called Pigeons. Because they crowd the corner of every city street. Because they are the color of sullied steel. Because they scavenge, eating every last crust. We do not favor them. They raise their young, huddled under awnings above the liquor store, circle our feet, pecking at crumbs, pace the sidewalk with that familiar strut. None will ever attain greatness. Though every once in a while, in a tourist's blurry snapshot of a grand cathedral, they rise into the pale gray sky all at once. So that's Pigeons. And I like to think of them having a grand moment, and I think they do. I was watching a flock of them recently flying in formation, and I thought, well, that's pretty elegant, you know. We don't want to overlook the lowly pigeon. They certainly have their moments. And this next poem is the title poem, actually, of this first book. So it's called The Moons of August, and it's after a poem by Dorian Lux. There are many names for this sullied coin, this brandy-soaked pearl, fruit moon, lightning moon, moon when all things ripen. We stand by the creek, watch it float between the black tips of the pine, grain moon, full sturgeon moon, green corn moon. I count my losses in the dark. Why not call it cracked quartz moon, roll of the dice moon, hard luck moon? Must we always speak of harvest? Crickets throb in the dusky vines. A bat flits above our heads. Oh, watcher, you who see all that is born and all that dies. Tonight I name you, switchblade moon. Toss in the towel moon. Moon turning to sand. Empty rice bowl. Dust moon, salt moon, ash moon, blink of an eye moon. Somehow, reading that, I thought of one of my best friends in the 8th grade. She was born in Taiwan, and she said most insults in Chinese have to do with rice. I don't know why. I guess empty rice bowl. That sounded to me like it might have been one of those insults. If somebody had a tendency to eat a lot, she said you'd call them a veritable rice bowl or bucket. That's how she translated it. And I really like the veritable in there, translated by an 8th grader. pretty sweet. So I guess a couple more before we get to hear from Manini. Oh, okay, I wrote one down that's a bit of a gardening poem because some gardeners have been sharing it lately, which reminded me that it exists. A poem I wrote some years ago called Feeding the Worms. I guess we're talking about pigeons and worms and these kind of things today. Ever since I found out that earthworms have taste buds all over the delicate pink strings of their bodies, I pause, dropping apple peels into the compost bin. Imagine the dark, writhing ecstasy, the sweetness of apples permeating their pores. I offer beets and parsley, avocado and melon, the feathery tops of carrots. I'd always thought theirs a menial life, eyeless and hidden, almost vulgar. Though now it seems they bear a pleasure so sublime, so decadent. I want to contribute, however I can, forgetting a moment my place on the menu. Goes a little dark there. That's what we do. That's what we do, right? That's our job. So maybe one more small one, and I'll pass things to Manini. And this one I chose because Ron and I, on the phone before this event, found ourselves talking about Chef's Table. I don't know who watches that. Certainly I have. But just the decadence of all that food. I'm going to take a little sip of water. And this poem was born around a table of poets talking, and I was saying, isn't it strange how almost everything tastes good? Prepared right, you can eat almost everything that lives or grows. And so that led to this poem, Edible. That and thinking of a friend I'd lost. So we want it all. Potatoes pulled up from under their poison foliage. The artichoke's heart scraped clean. The tender bodies of crustaceans broken from their calcified shells. Saffron stamens plucked from the crocus's center. Bark of cinnamon trees. Slow sugar tapped from the maple. The golden vomit of bees, pride from its waxen vaults. Even for some, the delicate crunch of crickets or hind legs of lamb, still tinged with blood. The world is such an unexpected feast. I think of my friend Christopher, who, when he found himself dying early one spring, kept telling us how this was the best part, the letting go. As if in his hunger, he'd somehow broken into death's core, torn off the husk, the brittle shell, found inside the succulent heart, and savored it. So thank you.